Good morning and welcome. You are tuned in live to another edition of Wealth Building Wednesday brought to you by TRHT Selma. TRHT stands for Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. We are a proud initiative operating in the city of Selma. We are a partnership between the Black Belt Community Foundation and the Selma Center for Nonviolence. Our goal with TRHT is to do just what the letters state. State the truth, promote racial healing, and thereby create transformation in our community because y'all, believe it or not, when Selma gets it right, Alabama will get it right. The United States will get it right. We've changed the world twice, in 1865 and in 1965, and we are preparing to do it again. We are not waiting until 2065 to do it, which is why TRHT Selma is so important and such an integral part to our development as a community. And Wealth Building Wednesday is just another part of what we do in pouring information into our community. And I'm so delighted to have two awesome guests. See, typically you all just see me with one person, but now I have two, so we're growing. Listen, two amazing ladies, Miss Kenyetta Evans and Dr. Alisa Smiley.
Hello.
Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
Good morning, ladies. How are you doing?
Morning.
Good morning.
Doing good. Doing good.
Awesome. Welcome to Wealth Building Wednesday. And y'all, in case you haven't realized, we are truly in sync today. We are all in yellow and some gold in some way, shape, or form. So it was just meant to be for us. Listen. So if you are watching live, you can see it. If you are tuned in on the radio broadcast, you are missing it. So go to Facebook or go to YouTube and watch the video so you can see our synchronicity. Right? So, ladies, I want you to take some time, just a few seconds, to introduce yourselves to our viewers so that we can kind of get a hang on what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, I'll go first. I'm Alisa Smiley, and I am a native of Selma, Alabama. Graduated from the Selma High School. So glad to be here, and I work with kids in the school system, Selma City Schools. And just an honor to be here. We thank you, Ms. Chapman.
Always.
And I am Kenyetta Evans. I'm a transplant here. I work also with Dr. Smiley at Selma City Schools, and I work with our scholars. But I'm really enjoying Selma.
Yes, and we have a lot to enjoy, and we appreciate you transplanting yourself and blooming where you have been planted. So we are excited, ladies, to dive into an amazing conversation that some folks may not have even thought about, right? And that is the connection between our finances and our families, and especially the impact our finances can have on our children. Right. You all are both mental health professionals. You work with families day in, day out. And particularly with young people. Your careers have been spent working with young people and observing the impact that so many different things, not just finances, but so many different things can have on our babies, right? And so even though some of them, kind of behave like they're grown, they are still our babies. So want to dive straight into the conversation by asking and pointing to the fact that they're really want to know, are there mental health impacts from experiencing or growing up in poverty? Like, is this some sort of myth, or is this a real, are there real mental health impacts from growing up in poverty?
I would say yes, there is, because it brings about an uncertainty in that child's life. And what a child needs growing up is that stability. So when you have those financial disadvantages, it takes away from everything being finite in there.
I agree. And we, just working within the school system, that's what we really, really try to stress: routine and structure, like Ms. Evans said, because if they are coming from those uncertain circumstances, school, they spend a lot of time at school. So we definitely want to make sure that they're feeling some sense of certainty and routine during the school, at least during the school day, if not at home.
Absolutely.
Because along with that uncertainty, it brings about mental health issues like anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder is the excessive worrying. Am I going to have enough? What am I going to have to eat? What am I going to have to wear? So in depression and PTSD comes along with it as well.
Wow. And now you mentioned PTSD just now, and I do recall being in a meeting here where there were some folks who are a part of law enforcement and the mental health community that came in from outside. And there was this, point made around certain communities where like gunfire is prevalent, right? And the impact that that can have on children who grow up, thinking, when you hear a loud noise to like dive on the floor or even sleeping on the floor to avoid being
Yes,
hurt.
yes, and then coming to school, sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen these particular cases, and you just have to validate children's feelings and what they're experiencing in the moment, and it's
And
it's a
be
lot.
and be open to listen, because a lot of times sometimes you have people that want to not take the kids serious and say,
Hmm.
oh, it'll be okay, they're just. But no, you have, like Dr. Smiley said, you have to be able to validate their feelings, because I can't tell them how to feel. But let them talk to you, and so you can understand, and having that empathy to be able to place yourself in their position to understand this is what they're going on, this is how they're feeling. Might not agree with it, but it gives you a sense, and then it allows that child to form that relationship with you.
So they can open up and let us know what's going on, so we can, help the family if we can.
And that's so important. That R word you just mentioned, relationship, right? Typically when we are having conversations on Wealth Building Wednesday, we're talking about building relationships with our bank, right? Building what is your relationship with your money, but having a relationship with our children so that they can open up and they can truly come to us when
Hmm.
there's a concern is
Hmm.
really important. So I want to know, because both of you ladies have a tremendous amount of experience, and as we talk on Wealth Building Wednesday about the mental health impact of our finances on our children and families throughout your career, how have you seen negative behaviors manifest themselves in young people, particularly in a school setting, but maybe even outside of a school setting, where there may be or have you even seen negative behaviors become a problem for young people when it comes to poverty and like moving around and things like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Miss Chapman, because transition can be hard, even for adults. So we definitely know that it can be hard for children coming into new school systems, and we do see those negative behaviors. They manifest in different ways, whereas some kids might externalize behaviors in a negative way, acting out, picking on other students, trying to fit in. We do
Mm-hmm.
see the opposite, the spectrum too. They internalize. A lot of times, our students, anyway, our scholars, engage in journal writing, and
Yes.
they do a lot of reflection and writing, and that's when we pick up what might be going on at home outside of the school. So we get both ends. The internalized feelings and behaviors might include shutting down. Ms.
Mm-hmm.
Evans mentioned the anxiety piece, being sad. Then you might see the opposite end where they're acting out and picking on other students, trying to gain friends in a different way, just trying to fit in. So,
So you mentioned journaling as a
mhm.
way for young people to be able to express themselves. Is that a tool that you would recommend even for adults as we are going through things and maybe experiencing financial struggle? Right now, honey, listen, with the price of gas, look,
Yes.
and groceries. Y'all, the turkey sausage I like to eat is like twice what it was like a year ago. And I'm really concerned, but the sausage is good. And I'm like,
Yes,
oh.
yes, yes, eggs, milk.
Yes.
So
Oh my
with prices
goodness.
going up and people literally who have not experienced any, or felt, the weight of financial struggle, and a lot of families based on the pandemic and this current inflation, right? Would journaling be a way for us to get those feelings of anxiousness out as adults
Yes.
even?
Mhm. Yes, because a lot of times, a lot of people don't have that person that they feel comfortable with talking to. So you can put your thoughts and feelings on that paper. And also another book, you can take that journaling and make and use it as, not only am I journaling, but I'm starting to make me a budget. And I
Mm-hmm.
can start to see, what do I want? What
Mm.
do I need? What can I
Mm-hmm.
live with and what can I live without?
And then, good, because I was going to mention that too, Ms. Evans.
Hmm.
Write down your triggers, like any negative emotions associated with your spending habits.
Mm.
All of that can be embodied in journaling. Definitely.
Wow. Okay, now. So if you are listening or you're watching live, that's something that we need to take note of, because we have talked about, look, we don't use the B word, budget. Look, we call it a spending plan, honey. Look. Cause see, diet and budget, nobody wants to hear those, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we have eating plans and spending plans. So basing your spending plan on your journal entries, y'all, and being able to pinpoint where your triggers are,
Yes.
so maybe when you're feeling low and your credit card starts to creep up, it's like,
Yes.
oh, you know
Yes.
what?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm,
That's right.
It makes it concrete because then you can
Yes.
see it. Then you can also go back and read what you wrote.
okay.
So
Okay. All right. So being reflective is super important, and being able to, like you said, track what you're doing according
Mhm.
to your finances and where you are emotionally, because there is a connection.
Connection. Yeah.
Y'all. So if you are just now tuned in to Wealth Building Wednesday, we are live and talking to Dr. Alisa Smiley and Miss Kenyetta Evans. They are both mental health professionals, y'all. And I'm telling you, money and our mental health go together, right? It really is like peanut butter and jelly. Because if you think about some of those times when some of us may have struggled financially, those could have been those very times that we felt the lowest, because unfortunately in our country we attach so much of our value to how much money we have in the bank, or spend so much money and accumulate so much debt trying to prove to other people,
Mhm.
right, that we have money, or have access. And it's unfortunate. It's the way of our country, and a part of what we do at Wealth Building Wednesday is try to break those chains, right, of commitment. Like, why commit to debt just to prove a point, when we can actually work together, and like you said, start journaling and know when we're being triggered by our environments, right?
Right.
Or something that's happening, and we can track our spending. So now when we watch television, a lot of us are doing that right now. And seems like we're gonna have to go back to it, the way these numbers are rising with COVID.
Hmm.
um when we see on television, and sometimes even in real life, single mothers in particular, and exposing themselves, I guess, in a way, or having conversations and referring to, and I'm a single mom, so full disclosure, I'm a single mom of a son. But labeling their sons as a man of the house, is there stress or any harm that is caused on our sons, in particular, our sons, um when that label is cast upon them?
I think there is, because you're taking that child and essentially making them an adult. So then they're an adult child. Then they're taking on adult responsibilities that they shouldn't have to take on until they're much older. And then it also leads into a very difficult relationship, because if that single mother decides that I'm going to find me a spouse, then is that son going to be receptive of that spouse coming into their
Oh,
household, and they have ran the household for so long because they were quote unquote the man of the
There it
house.
is.
And then that's going to cause turmoil, conflict, because the wife is going to be like, who do I choose?
yeah,
And I've seen this happen so much.
yeah. And so when one thing, and I was sharing this earlier when we logged on to do our sound check, that as a single mom, um I've actually told my son, I just committed, to not using that term, because I've seen what has happened with other women that I know that have raised sons, when they've labeled their children because, and I'm glad you said that, Miss Evans, their children as the men of the house, one in particular, very close friend, son started stealing, in order to continue to put forth this image, like to start this image thing, like, I'm in charge, and then eventually started doing some other illegal things, right? He unfortunately graduated to committing other crimes. And that's just one example. And I say that to say, when we mislabel children, right? When we view them in adult situations, like I've told my sons, you will not ever be the man of this house until I'm gone. Like, let's be clear. Okay. So not carrying that weight has really allowed him to be a child. Like he relied, like, I'm the adult, right, in the situation. And not to say that this is anything to I don't want anyone to feel like this is a bashing moment for anyone who has chosen that path. But the observation that Miss Evans has made, and I'm sure that Dr. Smiley would agree, in what your experiences have been, mislabeling children can introduce them to lifestyles and situations that may be well out of their control and out should be outside of their purview as children.
Yeah, so I guess you just have to be careful, and I don't even know how to word it. But I guess if the family, the single mom is struggling, you want to try to shield as much as you can, so that that child, especially a male child, won't feel that pressure to have to take care of the younger siblings or to have to fulfill that role. Now, from a biblical standpoint, we do want to instill in them the values of what God wants them to be as a man.
Yes.
But from a society, perspective, a lot of other manly things, come with that.
Okay.
With that later.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now you mentioned the word shield. So what are some strategies that we can use as parents or adults to help limit our children's exposure to financial challenges that we may be experiencing?
I guess one would be, to engage in a reflective journal and not have so many open discussions about struggling financially.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to strategize in a sense where you're explaining the difference between a child's wants versus needs, because that peer pressure is out there for them to keep up with the latest styles and the video games and the PlayStations, and you want to have that age appropriate, I guess, discussion so they can understand what's important at the moment versus what they might want, and then to give them a way to be able to earn what they desire, if it's within the budget.
Okay. Now that actually, the idea, and I know it might be a word that some children may be unfamiliar with right now, is allowances, right? When you are doing chores and earning your keep, so to speak. Um, I guess it really can, help young people understand the importance of a hard day's work, right? And that you can be rewarded, you should be rewarded for working. Even reading. I read in a book about 2 years ago the importance of transitioning our young people, especially young Black men, from thinking that their earnings should be based on their bodies, but more so reward their earnings, give them earnings based on their mind, like what they're doing to enhance their learning.
Yes.
So rewarding our children for reading as opposed to cutting grass, right?
Yes.
And look, and helping them to turn their grass cutting into a business.
That's right. That's
Come
right.
on now. Look.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So now what about understanding how to help our children understand wants versus needs, right? When we think about how to introduce that idea, because what if I'm a parent that I've like consistently, whenever we go to Walmart, whenever we, go out of town or whatever, it's like, oh, I want that. Okay, well, oh, I want that. How do we now start to change that? How do we explain wants versus needs?
Okay.
Miss Evans, I'll let you go first because I'm guilty. Look, you want to keep it real. I'm
Yeah,
guilty.
go
I give my stepson pretty much what he wants, but I'm getting better. So,
ahead. I have three daughters. So I've always, yeah, three daughters and a
Wow.
granddaughter. So I have a 22-year-old, 20-year-old, and a soon to be 16-year-old and an 8-month-old granddaughter. So I've had to have honest conversations with them.
Okay.
So one of the things was I was a I was a teen mom. So I had my two oldest, I was a teen. And so they saw the struggle. And so with them, it wasn't so much as explaining to them, but
Mhm.
just trying to shield them so much from the struggle. So I have open and honest conversations with them. I let them ask me questions. I let them see me write out the check to pay the light bill, the water bill, the cable bill, the insurance. So I let them see me along the process along the way. And so that now that they're older, they're able to run their own household, and they see that, okay, my middle daughter, she likes to shop, and she loves to shop, but she'll say, okay, I want this, but I know that I have a car note, I know that I have insurance coming
Mm.
up, so let me take care of my insurance and my car note. And I always stress to them, no matter how big or small your check is, you need to at least save something out of that check, because you never know when there's a hard time. So if that hard time hits, then you'll have a nest egg. But I just have an open and honest dialogue with my babies and let them know, internet is a want, is a want. But
mhm,
lights and water, that's a need. We can do
yeah,
without internet, but we can't do without lights and water in the house, especially with this heat going on. Um,
Listen.
but as they got older, I started letting them just see so that they can see what runs a household, because I didn't want them to get out there and not be financially literate and
yeah,
just have to learn, because I had to learn the ups and downs of it. But I didn't want that hard road for them. So I stressed to them about the importance of everything. I'm open and honest with them. If I didn't have enough money, I said, I don't have enough money to
Okay.
get this. So we're gonna put this on the back burner because we can live without this. But
Yeah.
I can't live without my lights and my water.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And they
And so,
appreciate the honesty.
I'm so glad that you made that comparison, and that you, as they got older, like started to show them more and more, because that can be crippling, right? If you don't know the bills and look and how they work,
Mhm.
that you got to pay the lights first before you pay the cable and internet,
That's right.
because you can have cable service, but if you
That's
don't pay
right.
the light bill, that box does not work, right?
So
But
true.
so making sure that those priorities are there, because that's essentially what you instilled and are instilling in your daughters, is prioritization,
Mhm.
right? Like, what is your priority? Is it a priority to make sure that your car note is paid, right, so that you can get back and forth to work, or to buy those $600 shoes?
Hmm.
They cute, but they might go on sale, or you might, something. You can wait. It's okay. So now, what about our habits? Because you started to share this as you were talking. How can our attitudes as adults about money and financial responsibility impact our children in the future?
Basically, we are our children's first teacher. Before anybody teaches our children anything, we teach them. So they model after us. So as they're growing up, they're gonna watch you. So they're gonna say, okay, mama bought this instead of buying this. So this
Mhm.
is what I'm gonna do. Something like when I was growing up, my grandmother always brought the name brand items. And so now when I go into the store, I tend to lean towards the name brand items. But over time, I've learned that those off brands are just as good as those name brands.
Mm-hmm.
So now then I had my kids and they're watching, they're like, okay, even though grandma bought this is just as good. So
Mm-hmm.
they like I said, they watch you and everything that you do. So that that model that they're seeing. So everything I try to equate everything with my children being a teachable moment. So you can learn anything out of any situation.
And I
You know
just
what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I still have visions of my dad sitting at the kitchen table, and he would, literally write out checks with a checkbook, and then Mama would always be the one to get the grocery, and so I guess I learned that way. I didn't know we struggled until I became an adult. They started out as teachers, and uh, but I learned later that they had some hard sacrifices to make, for us. So I try to remember those things, what I was taught by them.
Mhm.
I really, it's amazing how conversation can bring people together, because both of you all's upbringing is very similar to mine. Like being in my grandparents' household, honey, it's some name brands right now. I know for a fact that my grandmama is buying Kraft cheese. She don't care about Kraft, China doll rice. You know what I'm saying? I literally can like go through the grocery store and be like, "Ooh, that's what my grandma." Like,
Yeah.
ooh, yeah, that's what she buys.
Yeah.
But then I do also recognize that, and this is me personally, I started to see my mom when I would grocery shop with her, the balance that she struck, right?
Mhm.
Because see, my grandmother was married. I grew up with a single mom, right? So the balance that my mom struck in, okay, now there are certain things, and that lady tried to fool me one year, y'all. She tried to buy me because now Frosted Flakes, Kellogg's did a thing, okay? It has not yet been replicated. I promise you that. So my mama tried to see if I really could tell the difference, and she brought the off-brand Frosted Flakes, and I'm like, "Oh my, it's something wrong." She put it in the Kellogg's box. I was like, "Ma, it's something wrong with these Frosted Flakes."
I'm like that with Fruit Loops.
So it is amazing, right? When we start to share these experiences, how much in common we actually have when it
Yes.
comes to our upbringings and our spending habits. I wasn't a person who, my mom wasn't taught about credit, right? Because my grandparents drove around and paid all their bills in cash on the first of the month,
That's
right?
it.
So see, and it's like, right, and not right now, but see, I saw my mom write checks, right?
Okay.
And so, Dr. Smiley, to your point, I saw my mom write checks. So now when I'm balancing things in the household, it's like, oh, okay, well, I know where this comes from. But it took me, being a college student,
Mhm.
18, and all these credit card companies on campus, like, oh, for real?
Yeah.
And now I know a whole lot about credit, and I treasure, where my score is at this point, right? And I worked on it myself. It's not like, I didn't go through a service or whatever, but I took the time and the dedication to, and I got to employ that journaling though, because I really like, I documented, but it wasn't in a journaling style. So yeah, this is a really interesting conversation. And our mental health, y'all, if you are just tuning in, we have had a lively conversation about the keys and the tie-ins between our wealth management, how we are building wealth, and our spending habits, and our mental health, because our money and our mental health really do go together.
Mhm.
um Last thing before we get out of here, want to know if you could change any one thing about in the lives of our children related to finances, what would that be? And you can't make them all rich. Look.
I think we need to start teaching our children about generational wealth.
Mm,
I think we need to have that open dialogue, and we need to start it early, not when they get in high school and then they can take the business. I think we need to start early with them. We need to start introducing it to them as early as kindergarten, and go from there, because we've got to understand that we are so much more,
Mhm.
yes.
and we've got to stop lagging back behind. So we've got to start getting our children, our babies, early with it.
Mhm. Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, find your niche and work it. You know,
Okay.
if you got that side hustle starting out cutting grass, doing hair, do the best, be the best hairdresser you can be, cut lawnmower service, find your niche and work it.
Now, you said a thing there, because everybody's niche, and as we wrap up, everybody's niche is not going to be a 4-year degree.
That's
Mm-mm.
right.
It's not going to be found through a 4-year, 6-year, 8-year, 12-year degree. right? Sometimes your niche may be the family business, whether it is plumbing, welding,
Mm-hmm.
electrical work, right? And becoming certified in those things, because as the black belt begins to get more attention, right? Selma, there are developers that are coming into town who are looking to truly help transform our city and put in, you know, housing that is appropriate for families and folks who are moving up, right? May
Mm-hmm.
not be looking for, you know, to become homeowners, but want to live in a nice, say, townhouse or what have you, right? And so all of those things require expertise. Brick
That's,
masons,
that's right.
people who are certified in electrical work and HVAC, right? Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Those are recession proof jobs, y'all, because like Miss Evans talked to us about, you're going to have to pay that light bill and that water bill. Let it be. This heat we're experiencing right now, let your plumbing go down and you can't flush that toilet.
That's right.
We're gonna find a way to pay that plumber, right? So
That's right.
want to make sure that we're encouraging our young people, our young men especially, to don't think that the be all and end all is that 4-year degree. Your niche, your thing
Mm-hmm.
may just be something that nobody else is paying attention to. And we've got to encourage our young people to dive off into those career fields, because those, now that's where generational wealth can truly be built, because those are recession proof jobs, y'all.
Right. That's
Right.
right.
And we've just got to face facts. And thank you to Miss Tiffany Smith. She said, honey, she said, your gift will make room for you. Now, she said that, and that's so true.
So
If
true.
you are gifted in electrical work, if you like figuring things out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people keep saying, well, oh, you should be an engineer. It might not be that type of engineer. It may be that you are supposed to be wiring up houses.
Mm-hmm.
And look at all the homes that are being built across this country and around the world, and wiring up buildings,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
So that's super, super important. Ladies, I am so delighted that you all have taken time out of your busy schedules to join us here on Wealth Building Wednesday. We have gone over our time, so I would beg forgiveness, look, from our radio partner WBFZZ 105.3, because they do air the audio of our live broadcast. So we are a little bit over, but I'm prayerful that our radio partners will forgive us and air the entirety of this episode, because you all have dropped some real nuggets today. You all have shared some really important facts with us. And I am hoping that you will be willing to join us again on Wealth Building Wednesday.
We will.
Awesome. Well, y'all enjoy the rest of your day. And if you are just now, like I said, tuning in, go back and watch this, honey, because we have had a time talking about our money and our mental health. Wealth Building Wednesday broadcast every single Wednesday live on Facebook and YouTube, 10 o'clock a.m. until 10:30 Central Standard Time. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.